Welcome to History Black, where the darkest, most mysterious, and most dramatic chapters of history are brought back to life. Behind every empire, every war, and every legend, History Black reveals the side of history many books only tell halfway.
This is not just history. This is power, betrayal, war, tragedy, and the truth hidden in the shadows. Welcome to History Black.
September 480 BC, the Strait of Salamis, Greece. Imagine yourself standing on the deck of a Greek trireme. The wood beneath your feet is damp with seawater. The oars creak beside you. The smell of smoke still hangs in the air. Behind you on the island of Salamis are the people you love, your wife, your children, the last survivors of a city that no longer exists. Athens is burning. Its temples have been desecrated. Its streets are filled with Persian soldiers. Its people have fled with whatever they could carry. Everything that once made Athens feel eternal has been reduced to flame, ash, and silence. And ahead of you, moving across the water, comes the largest fleet the world has ever seen. More than 1,000 Persian warships, not just ships and empire on the sea. Phoenicians, Egyptians, Cilicians, Ionians, men from every corner of Xerxes' world. All rowing under the command of the King of Kings. To the Persians, this is not supposed to be a battle. It is supposed to be the final act. The last blow. The moment Greece stops resisting, on the slopes above the water sits Xerxes himself, watching from a throne built for one purpose. To witness the destruction of the Greek fleet. Facing him are only 370 Greek ships, outnumbered, divided, exhausted, led by a man many of them do not trust, Themistocles. By every rule of war, the Greeks should lose before the fighting even begins. But in a few hours, this narrow channel of water will become one of the most decisive battlefields in ancient history. It will not only decide the fate of Greece, it will break the confidence of the greatest empire on earth, and it will prove that sometimes the side with fewer men, fewer ships, and fewer choices can still change the course of history if it chooses the battlefield correctly. This is how Themistocles trapped the Persian fleet at Salamis. The night before the battle, the Greek commanders gather on the island of Salamis. The mood inside the council is bitter. These men are supposed to be allies, but most of them have spent their lives distrusting one another. Athens and Corinth have been rivals for years. Aegina and Athens had fought each other not long before. Sparta leads on land, Athens dominates at sea, and every city-state is thinking about survival before unity. Themistocles rises to speak before he can finish. Adimantus, the Corinthian commander, cuts him off. "You have no city left," he says. "You have no country. Why should anyone here listen to an Athenian?" The room freezes. It is cruel, but everyone knows why he said it. Athens is gone. The Persians have taken it. The temples are burning. The people have fled. To many of the Peloponnesian commanders, Athens is already lost. And if Athens is lost, why risk everything here? Themistocles does not explode. He does not beg. He answers with ice in his voice. "You are right," he says. "My city is gone. But those 180 Athenian ships in the water are not gone. They are still here, and without them, you have no fleet. Without a fleet, your wall at Corinth is nothing but a wall around a tomb." No one speaks. Because every man in the room knows he is right. The Peloponnesians want to withdraw. The land forces have already pulled back to the Isthmus of Corinth, where they are building a defensive wall. They believe they can abandon the rest of Greece and protect their own territory behind that narrow strip of land. Now they want the fleet to follow, retreat to Corinth, fight in safer waters, let Athens remain a sacrifice. Themistocles sees exactly what is happening. So he goes further. "If this council chooses to run," he says, "Athens will take its ships and leave Greece. We will sail west. We will build a new city in Italy. And you can face Xerxes without us." That is not an empty threat. The Athenians make up nearly half the allied fleet. Without their ships, the Greek navy collapses. Without the navy, the Persians control the sea. And if Persia controls the sea, the wall at Corinth can be bypassed, starved, or destroyed. The alliance would die before the battle began. By the time Themistocles sits down, the question of retreat has changed. It is no longer, should we leave Salamis? It is, can we survive if Athens leaves us? Then Eurybiades, the Spartan commander chosen to lead the fleet, finally speaks. "If not Corinth," he asks, "then where?" Themistocles points toward the water. "Here," he says, "in this strait." The commanders look at him. The Strait of Salamis is narrow. At its tightest point, it is barely a mile wide. It is enclosed by land on both sides. There is little room to maneuver, little room to spread out, little room for a large fleet to use its full strength. That is exactly why Themistocles wants it. In open water, he explains, Persia destroys us. Their fleet is too large. Their Phoenician squadrons are too skilled. They can surround us, outflank us, and crush us before we ever get close enough to board. The room is listening now, but in the strait, he says, their numbers become their weakness. 1,000 ships cannot fight. As one fleet inside a narrow channel, they will crowd each other. Their rear lines will push into their front lines. Captains will lose sight of their commanders. Orders will vanish in the noise. And when the battle becomes close, when ships ram, splinter, and men fight deck to deck, that is our kind of war. The logic is perfect, but Eurybiades sees the problem. Why would Xerxes enter the strait, he asks. He has no reason to do that. Themistocles pauses. No, he says quietly, he does not. And in that silence, his real plan begins. Later that night, Themistocles leaves the council. He calls for a trusted servant Sisinus, a Persian-speaking slave and tutor to his children. The order he gives him is dangerous enough to get them both killed. You will row across to the Persian camp. Themistocles says, you will ask to speak to Xerxes. You will tell him you bring a message from the Greek commander. Sisinus listens. Tell him the Greek alliance is breaking apart. Themistocles continues. Tell him the Peloponnesians are preparing to flee tonight. Tell him that if he seals both exits of the strait before dawn, he can trap the entire Greek fleet and end the war in one stroke. Sisinus understands, and if they do not believe me, they will, Themistocles says. Because it is exactly what Xerxes wants to hear. Every word is a lie. The Greeks are not fleeing. The alliance is not collapsing. Themistocles has just forced it to stay together. But he understands Xerxes better than Xerxes understands him. This is a king who has crossed continents. A king whose armies have burned Athens. A king who has crushed resistance after resistance. A king who watched Leonidas and the Spartans fall at Thermopylae. Xerxes does not expect deception from a cornered enemy. He expects fear. He expects surrender, so Sisinus rows into the darkness. Across the water at Phalerum, Xerxes is holding his own council. Around him stand commanders from every nation in his empire. Naval leaders, generals, advisors, men who have followed him across the Hellespont and deep into Greece. One by one, they tell him what he wants to hear. Attack. The Greeks are weak, the Greeks are divided, the Greeks are trapped. One decisive naval strike. And the war ends. Then one voice disagrees. Artemisia, queen of Halicarnassus. She is the only female commander in the Persian fleet, and one of the few people in the room brave enough to tell Xerxes the truth. You have already won. She warns him. Athens is destroyed. The Greeks are divided. Do not risk your fleet in a battle you do not need. March toward the Peloponnese. And their alliance will collapse on its own. The room goes quiet because she is right. Strategically, she is completely right. Xerxes respects her. Perhaps more than any other naval commander present. But respect is not obedience. He wants the war finished. He wants the Greeks destroyed in front of him. He wants a victory he can watch with his own eyes. Then Sisinus arrives. A message from Themistocles. A Persian officer reads it aloud. The Greeks are terrified. The alliance is collapsing. Half the fleet may flee before morning. But if Xerxes moves now, if he sends his ships into the strait and blocks the exits, he can trap them all before dawn. Xerxes reads the message again. It is perfect, too perfect. But he does not see the trap. He sees only the victory he has been waiting for. He gives the order. The Persian fleet moves into the night. More than 1,000 ships slide through the dark water. Their crews row in silence. Their commanders believe they are sealing the Greeks inside the strait. Not one of them understands that they are entering the battlefield Themistocles chose for them. Back at Salamis, before dawn, the Greek crews gather along the shore. Marines, rowers, captains, hoplites from the allied city-states. Men who have argued, feared, doubted, and nearly abandoned one another, now standing shoulder to shoulder beneath the dark sky. Across the water, Persian signal fires move in the distance. Themistocles steps forward. Men of Greece, he says, before us lies freedom, behind us lie our homes. Our families, our temples, and the graves of our fathers. Fight here, in these narrow waters, and Greece survives. Board your ships, choose the better fate. For a moment, there is silence. Then the shoreline erupts. A roar rolls across Salamis. Men rush to the triremes, oars are lifted, shields are strapped, helmets are lowered. Bronze catches the first pale light of morning. One by one, the Greek ships push out into the strait. When dawn breaks, the Persians realize something is wrong. They have been rowing all night. Their crews are tired, their arms ache, their formation is crowded and compressed. They have spent hours waiting for a Greek escape that never came, and now, in the morning light, they see them. 370 Greek warships, not fleeing, not scattered, waiting in battle formation. The Greeks have spent the night preparing. Their fleet stretches across the strait in ordered lines. On the left are the Athenians' 180 ships, the heart of the allied navy. On the right are the Aeginetans, feared for their aggression at sea. The smaller allied contingents hold the center. Every ship has been placed with purpose. Every flank has been chosen carefully. The Persians, by contrast, are already in trouble, their finest sailors. The Phoenicians are on the right. The Ionian Greeks, forced to serve Persia, are on the left. Behind them, more contingents press forward in tight. Confused ranks, too many ships, too little space, too much pressure from the rear. Above it all, on Mount Aigaleo, Xerxes takes his throne. Scribes sit beside him, ready to record the names of those who fight bravely and those who fail him. From where he sits, the whole strait lies below him like a map. But maps do not show panic. Maps do not show confusion. Maps do not show what happens when 1,000 ships try to fight in water too narrow to breathe. The Greeks hold their line. They wait. They allow more and more Persian vessels to crowd into the trap. Then suddenly, one Greek ship surges forward. Its bronze ram drives into a Persian vessel. For a heartbeat, the whole strait seems to stop. Then the Greek line charges. The battle erupts all at once. Hundreds of oars dig into the sea. Bronze rams slice through the water. Hulls crash together with a sound like trees breaking in a storm. Oars snap. Men scream. Shields strike shields. Splintered wood flies across the decks. The Persian front line hits the Greeks and stalls. Captains try to pull back. But the ships behind them are already pushing forward. The second rank crushes into the first. The third rank drives into the second. There is no room to turn. No space to regroup. No way for commanders to restore order. Persian ships begin crashing into Persian ships. Their greatest strength, their numbers, has become a disaster. Only the front line can fight. Everyone behind it can only push, panic, and die. The Greeks know exactly what to do. The Athenians slam into the Phoenicians on the Persian right. Their attacks are disciplined and brutal. They ram, withdraw, strike again, and board disabled ships with armored hoplites. The Persian crews are lighter armed. Many are sailors, not heavy infantry. Once the Greeks reach their decks, the fighting becomes savage and one-sided on the other flank. The Aeginetans cut off escape routes and punish any ship trying to break south. The Greek center holds firm. No one chases too far. No one breaks formation. Every captain understands the trap must stay closed. On the Persian side, order disappears. Ships drift helplessly with broken oars. Men fall into the sea. Many cannot swim. Wounded sailors cling to wreckage as more ships crash over them. Commands vanish in the roar of battle. Panic spreads faster than any messenger can ride. Then Xerxes sees something he will never forget. Artemisia, the queen who warned him not to fight, is being pursued by an Athenian trireme. Her escape path is blocked by a friendly Persian ship. She makes a ruthless decision. She rams it. The Persian ship sinks. The Athenian captain, seeing her destroy a Persian vessel, assumes she must be fighting for the Greeks and breaks off the chase. From his throne, Xerxes watches the moment unfold. He does not understand what really happened. He only sees that Artemisia fought with courage while many of his male commanders failed. And according to tradition, he says the words that would follow her into history. My men have become women, and my women have become men. By midday, the Strait of Salamis is no longer a battlefield. It is a graveyard. Broken hulls drift everywhere. Bodies float between shattered oars. Persian ships turn in confusion. Trying to escape toward Phalerum, but the way out is choked with wreckage and fear. By mid-afternoon, confusion becomes collapse. The Persian fleet breaks. Ships flee toward the harbor, but the Aeginetans are waiting near the southern exit, striking escaping vessels in the flank as they try to run. There is no clean retreat, no organized withdrawal, only survival. The losses tell the story. Persia loses somewhere between 200 and 300 ships in a single afternoon. Thousands of men drown. The Greeks lose about 40 ships. and on the small island of Cytalia, where Xerxes had placed 400 soldiers to kill Greek survivors. Aristides lands with a force of hoplites. The fighting there is brief, cold, deliberate, total. Every Persian soldier on the island is killed. By evening, the strait is silent. The largest navy on earth has been shattered in a matter of hours. Xerxes looks down from the throne built for his triumph and sees only wreckage. This is not victory. This is humiliation, and the consequences are immediate. Without control of the sea, Xerxes cannot move troops freely around Greek defenses. He cannot supply his enormous army indefinitely. He cannot finish the conquest the way he planned. The invasion is not over, but it has lost the one thing it cannot replace. Momentum. Xerxes holds one final council. His general Mardonius speaks first. The defeat at sea changes nothing, he argues. The army is still intact. The elite infantry remains untouched. Give me picked troops, and I will finish the conquest in the spring. Xerxes agrees. He leaves Mardonius with 300,000 chosen men enough. He believes to finish Greece by land. But Xerxes himself does not stay. He fears the Greeks may sail north to the Hellespont and destroy the bridges connecting Europe to Asia. If that happens, his army could be trapped in Greece, so he withdraws to Asia with the bulk of his forces. Mardonius remains behind in Boeotia with Persia's best soldiers and one command. Finish the war next year. That is what makes Salamis so important. It did not end the Persian invasion. It changed the invasion. Greek cities were still occupied. Persian troops still marched on Greek soil. The war was still alive, but something had shifted. For the first time since Thermopylae, the Greeks believed Persia could be beaten. Not delayed, not resisted, beaten. Xerxes had come to Greece with the power of an empire. He had crossed the Hellespont, burned Athens, and expected the final victory to come at sea. Instead, Themistocles gave him exactly what he wanted and used that desire to destroy him. Salamis broke the Persian fleet, but Persia still had an army. A massive, disciplined, battle-hardened army wintering in Boeotia, waiting for spring. Mardonius was not careless, he was not defeated, and he was not finished. One more campaign remained. One more impossible test for a Greek alliance that had already come within inches of collapse. The next battle would not be fought in a narrow strait. It would not be decided by oars, rams, or tides. It would happen on land, on an open plain, near a small city whose name would become one of the final turning points of the Persian Wars. Plataea. If Salamis shattered the empire's fleet, Plataea would decide whether Persia could still win the war. Watch the Battle of Plataea,